of the best bits of the sea is dealing with it. It throws at you. Fishing in this? We'd be looking for a few more forces before we called it a day. This job is not like ordinary jobs, it's mere life. One minute it can be kind to you and the next minute it can try and destroy you.
I think I would hate to be away from the harbour and away from MD. It's speaking to me about fish, because it just brings everything back.
In August that year I was 17, so I was just starting to drive, because I remember I'd passed my driving test for a gun, driving down to Cumberland for the naming ceremony. She looked really nice when she come out of the shed, got a bit of sunlight on her. It was brilliant. You just felt that there was a lot more exciting times to come, Ken.
Fishing operation shooting. Got the one net up here. The code end is dropped from aft. I work these for the wheelhouse. Last thing you want to do is get snagged and dragged. That's the simple part of it. After 5 hours towing, the net is hauled aboard, grabbed using this power block into this pond here. A few turns in this capstan, dog rope Gilson wire, click it in, signal, slack back. Wire comes tight, bags slacked, fish go up forward to the hopper. A guy standing here, maybe a guy standing here, taking your knife, which should be sharp, up, flick open, collect the guts like that. Well, the longest I've stood here and gutted has maybe been 15, 16 hours. A sing-song helps pass the time. Had a lot of good times down here. A lot of good times.
I think we're better to connect through.
24-year-old Xander West is son of Sandy West, and at least the 5th generation of his family to go to the fishing. Their boat, the Steadfast, works out of Fraserburgh, the town at the heart of the crisis facing the UK's whitefish fleet.
No, gonna pull.
See, it's how you doffed up now, eh?
There we go.
Be a little dance. When I was little, we used to hear a receiver in the house. You couldn't talk back, but my dad talked every night, 10 o'clock. We'd sit and we'd be on this receiver, and he would tell us all the day's news, which was usually seen Wales, I've seen this, I've seen that, and then it would be good night, love you all, Fiona, Xander, Kenneth, Mum, and that'd be about 10 o'clock every night, and I think that's missing for life nowadays, is it? That little, like, romantic things, Ken? I would like nothing better than Donnie to be like I was and work with me, because I have enjoyed every single minute working with my dad.
It is the most dangerous job in Britain, and yet young men are still drawn to the excitement and rewards that lured their fathers and grandfathers to the hunting grounds at sea.
You're getting fish, it's good. Problem is when you didn't get fish.
But the tide has turned. Waters that were once British are now European, and the Common Fisheries Policy rules the waves. The fishermen can't stomach it.
It's Brussels' job to stop us catching fish, but it's our job to catch fish. If we don't catch fish, we don't get paid. Simple.
They have found their industry is regarded by our politicians as having little value as a bargaining chip in Brussels. Whilst other nations prize this natural resource, here, since joining Europe, our fishermen believe they are being sacrificed through government apathy. They're fighting for survival.
We're trying to save the way of life. Fraserburgh community life. If you remove an industry, especially from the likes of Fraserburgh, it's so highly dependent on the fishing, you're ripping the heart out of the whole community. You're actually taking the heritage and history also away from a community, which is what we're trying to preserve.
After the savage decommissioning in 2002, the UK government wants to destroy a further 69 boats. They target the white fish sector, particularly the newer, larger boats like Sandy's Steadfast. The banks, sensing a crisis in their massive investments, are only too willing to seize the chance to get out. Sandy and many other skippers may lose their boats, whether they like it or not.
We're just under the wheelhouse here, and if you come through this way, we go into the mess deck galley, like a sort of recreation room as well. The whole lot's been refurbished, and it's such a shame, really, isn't it? We get it all broken up. One of the worst aspects of it is looking at this vessel and how well I've kept this vessel, and 6.5-year-old getting broken up. It is, to me, a criminal act.
To watch her come for a keel, to fetch a whiz and popping up and down to Campbell to see a finished product, and then a few years later, knowing she's about to get stripped back down to the keels, it's enough to make you a bit sick, to tell you the truth.
The Scottish Executive has set aside £40 million for decommissioning. Generous though this seems, it is estimated that around 80% of the money will go straight to the banks to pay off their loans. July, the decommissioning list is published, and Sandy's boat, the Steadfast, is on it. He's unimpressed with the offer, but his bank is pressing him to accept. He has a month to decide.
This boat approximately cost 1.35 million. What they're offering in decommission is just absolutely ridiculous. It's a mere pittance. I would come out of this with nothing if I decommissioned my boat.
His bank will take all of the money plus the value of his fish quota. Tougher still, the deal even requires him to price the breaking up of his own boat. Within days, 2 Danish shipbreaking yards are in town hunting for business.
My hopes for the future, I think, is the same as most fishermen, is that we can go on, keep doing what the family's done for years. That's catch fish.
The West family has built each boat mindful of the next generation. The crew of the 4th Steadfast are Sandy's 2 sons, a nephew, as well as a cook loyal to the boat for 21 years. Sandy stays ashore to weigh up the future. For years, his boys have been looking forward to taking over the family business.
There's a fierce sense of pride every time you take a boat out of harbour. And probably even more so when your dad's watching you do it.
For every man at sea, there are at least 5 or 6 people ashore working in the support industries.
We're going out the door here. The rest of Europe is building new super trawlers, and we're being demised deliberately.
There must be a hidden agenda for the Scottish fleet. They want us out, and the only way they want us out is because we have one of the richest fishing grounds there is.
We could become the first island in the history of the world that doesn't even have a fishing industry. It's not because of conservation, it's about accommodation of the Spanish and the European fleet. We're being sacrificed on the altar of Euro Union.
Round the harbour here, it's basically all little industries. There's no big ones at all. There's the electrical engineers, which is us, painter, plumber, the hydraulic man. Can't remember them all, but there's loads. This year alone, we reckon 400, maybe 500 jobs ashore will be lost by this decommissioning. there's got to be a point that things is going to collapse.
The fishing communities, especially in the northeast, has been built up on fish, and we're going to be decimated by politicians that doesn't bother their backside about anything.
This has been a shoe shop for 20 years. Nobody has confidence in the fishing. Nobody has confidence in the town. The new company just doesn't have the confidence to sign a long-term lease. Just nobody seems to have the get up and go. Well, they do. Actually, they do. The cod crusaders are doing quite a good job. Your heart and soul goes into the shop. It becomes you and you become it. And it's gone. Gone. That is gone.
The final decision has been made. The bank has forced Sandy to decommission the Steadfast.
I'd never think this would happen, never. You just never think that would happen. A new boat, just 6 3/4 year old, would end up going to breaker's yard. You just kind of hardly believe that.
I mean, this is his last sail with the boat. I mean, it's quite sad, really, and it is. It's a totally different feeling him going away with the boat than night as fitted usually is.
I don't think my dad's the kind of person to show much emotion outside, and probably I'm neither, so it'll be interesting to see how it pans out between the two of us over the next 2 days. My dad to me has been my skipper, my teacher, my dad, and probably one of my best pals. So much to thank him for that I wouldn't do it to his face, because I don't think he'd like me to do it, but I've never ever regretted going to sea.
I'll see you later.
With this decommissioning, there's a lot of good men been put to work. I mean, really experienced guys, like my dad. To me, he's a brilliant fisherman. I think a lot of guys in Fraserburgh would agree with that. And he's been stolen out the industry, which is a great shame, because I think he's a lot of knowledge to pass down to younger guys.
Every time they leave a harbour, there's always that fear and there's always that dread. You know, are they going to return home safely to us? You've always got that in the back of your mind.
It's the way of our life. It's just something that's there. You know they're out there. You know they'll do whatever they can to make themselves safe, and you try not to worry too much about it.
If you were to sit and worry about every storm that we personally seen in North East of Scotland, then you'd be a nervous wreck.
It's day one on the Steadfast's voyage to Denmark. Weather permitting, the trip should take 51 hours.
Hello, Sandy.
On board to help is Sandy's son-in-law, Keith.
Back at 7.
Like a day, is it?
Oh, it's not bad, like, it's alright.
It's good.
With the imminent loss of the Steadfast from the family, Xander has decided to quit fishing. However, the lure of the sea is just too strong.
This is Fortis oil field. This is what I'm going to be doing after we get clear with this boat. I'm going to be in one of these standby vessels, waiting to respond to emergencies that could happen. Also to chase fishing boats away. Just hoping that the standby job has got to provide me with the same excitement, which I hope it will.
The core of the crisis in the whitefish sector centres on how many fish are in the sea. The politicians listen to the scientists. The fishermen fiercely dispute their figures. Hunter against conservationist, daily experience versus an inexact science. Before joining Europe, fishermen lived in the much simpler market of supply and demand. With the advent of the Common Fisheries Policy in the early 70s, there came the wonder world of guaranteed minimum prices for your fish and grants to build boats. As overfishing became rife and fears grew for stock levels, the tide turned. The good times were over. Today, each boat belongs to an association that is given a total allowable catch for the year. If too much is caught too early, the year's end brings slim pickings. With quotas down 70% in the last decade, anyone catching beyond their quota is faced with a stark choice. To be legal, they must either dump the excess at sea, anathema to a hunter, or earn less by having to pay to rent quota from another skipper.
I'll just show you something here. This is my quota that I got from a producer organisation at the end of last month. Now, I've got cod here at 8 boxes, haddock here at 17 boxes, and I've got whitings here at 17 boxes. If you're lucky, that would net you about coming up away £1,600 for your month. That's just utter ridiculous. You could catch that in one haul, no problem. We've been having to rent our fish, but now there's hardly any fish to rent, so there's no way forward for me this year anyhow. If we weren't decommissioning this boat, I'd be faced with landing blackfish every trip. This just makes me feel like a criminal. The fishery officers is just waiting for you whenever you come in. We've been made to lie. We've been made to cheat. They've put us in this position.
In order to earn a living or to be greedy?
Oh, certainly not greedy, no. When I was about 12, 13 years old, my father was a big influence. He learned me a lot at an early age. He used to put me in the forward part of the boat and I used to catch my own fish. Pulling up a cod bigger than myself from 30, 40 fathoms was quite exciting, I could tell you. I would say it intrigued me to go at the fishing at the early stage. I was never going to tell him about the decommissioning because they hadn't very long to live at that time, so I wasn't going to tell him, but when he asked what I was doing, I just had to tell him. The last week in my father's life, he was just sort of lying his pillow side on, and he wouldn't really lift his head. You know, he'd just like lay there and uninterested, and all of a sudden when I mentioned decommissioning and especially scrapping the boat, his head turns up and he just looks into my face with great wide open eyes, you know, staring up. His mouth was wide open. It was amazing because he hadn't done that actually for a whole week. So it must have hurt him a lot. Quite a lot, I think.
Right. It's my turn to shock the pan. Chicken breast wrapped in bacon and a cheese food slice. I think there's muggle tricks that Jamie Oliver can teach me.
With the Danish coast just over the horizon, it's the last evening on the Steadfast.
They always say that boats are girls. She's a great boat. She's coming on well. Her engine's in, and it was absolutely fabulous. It was something that, it's memories that I'll always have in the back of my head, and I enjoyed every single minute of watching her take shape. It was mine. Well, not mine, but my family's and partly mine. And I think you always put a little bit of self into your boat. This boat really tells a lot about us, tells a story, and That story's a way to be scrapped.
Really, this boat has become a part of me, in a sense. It's been a big part of my life. So tomorrow, that's where it'll surround, not in the investment, not in the money. Not so much as the end of a dream, it's the end of a part of my life. It's the end of a big part of my life. We'll just have to get over it.
It's just a graveyard.
It's dead dump, isn't it? That's what Mr. Fischler and the European Commission and our own fisheries ministers think of Fraserburgh and Peterhead and Aberdeen. That pile of rubbish, that's what they think of us. Well, I think that's what we think of them.
It is the last night of the Brussels talks. The pressure builds for a final agreement. Weary after days of negotiation, the ministers talk through the night. Just after dawn, word comes out that they have reached a compromise. But the word is not good.
It's the same thing again. It looks as though we are going to come out with the worst deal again for being the most conservative in the EU.
As the talks drag on, frustrated delegates meet and share their grievances.
To be quite honest, I think what we're going to see is a delivery package has been devised a few weeks ago, and what we're actually witnessing is just the fine-tuning of it.
Behaved in a dictatorial fashion and will continue.
A week today is Christmas, and where are we? We're actually sitting like the rest of the other idiots, waiting, just to be the first ones told. That's the deal done, this is what you're getting.
The French seem to get to go into talks and they tell them what they want. Our ministers seem to lie back. To them, this is a major achievement, the way Mr. Bradshaw's body language was today.
Well, I'd certainly rather be doing something else than the week before Christmas, spending 24 hours all night negotiating in Brussels.
It's just ridiculous, it's like...
Back in Denmark, Sandy and Zander must finally leave the Steadfast.
That's it, Dad.
That's something they can't take away. They can't take away the knowledge you've got.
It's something I'll never ever forget. Since that pride I had, taking her out of Peterhead for the first time. They can't decommission that. They can't decommission and take away memories. It's not right.
They left her just as they had lived in her.
If national control, or should I say when we get national control, I would say it's quite a lot of perseverance through ourselves is maybe it's going to achieve it.
In Denmark, there's an incredible sting in the tail of the steadfast. Even though Brussels demands that her hull be destroyed, other parts can be sold off. Her wheelhouse, engine and electronics have been sold, almost unbelievably, to fishermen from Thailand. They'll ship each bit home and reassemble it on another hull. They wanted to buy the complete vessel and just cannot understand the waste of a good ship in perfect condition.
Very sad thing, to be the either owner or the skipper with, their life on the vessel, and to see the vessel torn apart like this, I think we cannot describe how sad it is.
Since I've been home, every night nearly I go to my bed, I'm thinking about fish. I remember my father saying something about fish fever, so I think that's maybe what it's like.
I just go away now, do my month at a standby, to the best of my ability, get paid for it, and then come back to this guy. And someday I'll be able to pass on the story to him. Yeah?
I said earlier on I wouldn't go back, but if it's in my blood, I'll maybe just go back.
If something good had come out of it, we'd be able to turn around and say, well, at least it was for something, but it isn't. It's been in vain because absolutely nothing good has come out of it. The fishing isn't in a better state. The fishermen haven't got in a better deal because our boat's been scrapped. You just feel shafted, really, and that's just what it comes down to.
In the last 4 years, Scotland's whitefish fleet has been decimated. The fishermen believe their livelihood is being sacrificed through political neglect and fear theirs will be another UK industry consigned to museum and memory.
If you get a big hull of quota aboard, it's tremendously exciting. I've just seen myself just jumping into the fish hopper when there's quota there, and just jumping in and getting in there and kissing them and hugging them, just really excited. The crew says, look at him. If you get a hull of quota, it's a lot of money, right enough, but it's not the money you're thinking at the time. It's just a fish. They're just a beautiful fish.